Eternal God, we ask your help, for our need is great. Our days fly past in quick succession, and we cannot look back without regret or ahead without misgiving. We seek to understand the mystery of our own lives, but our effort is in vain. And when suffering and death strike those we love, our faith all but fails us, and we forget that we are your children. God, help us now to feel your presence when our own weaknesses and the storms of life hide you from our sight. Help us to know that you are with us still. Uphold us with the comfort of your love. Eli, page 540. Page 544. Keep me, Eternal One, for in you I find refuge, and in you my soul finds its peace. Guardian of all my days, you are my cup from which I drink, and the portion of my life. I thank you for guiding my steps, for the inner voice that instructs me. I have set you before me always. With you beside me I cannot fail. So my heart is glad, my soul rejoices, and all of me can rest secure, for you will not abandon me in death. You show me the path of life, and in your presence is fullness of joy. On 546, we read about the 7 aspects of the Yizkor service. 7 is a number of wholeness, a number of completeness, and is somewhat counterintuitive in that our hearts are broken. They're less than whole for those who we've lost, and yet at the same time we know that our life would be less complete, less whole without them. And as the number 7 is a Jewish symbol of wholeness and holiness, this Yizkor service offers 7 ways to reflect on loss and memory, grief and healing. We choose, alone and together, from among these diverse aspects of the Yizkor service. Continue on page 549 with the first aspect on the loss of loved ones. The death of a loved one is the most profound of all sorrows. The grief that comes with such a loss is intense and multifaceted, affecting our emotions, our bodies, and our lives. Grief is preoccupying and depleting. Emotionally, grief is a mixture of raw feelings such as sorrow, anguish, anger, regret, longing, fear, and deprivation. Grief may be experienced physically as exhaustion, emptiness, tension, sleeplessness, or loss of appetite. Grief invades our daily lives in many sudden gaps and changes, like that empty place at the dinner table or the sudden loss of affection and companionship, as well as in many new apprehensions. The loss of a loved one throws every aspect of our lives out of balance. The closer we were to the person who died, the more havoc the loss creates. Love does not die quickly. Hence, to grieve is also to celebrate the depth of the union. Tears are then the jewels of remembrance, sad but glistening, with the beauty of the past, so grief in its bitterness marks the end, but it is also as praise to the one who is gone. Continue on page 555 with the second aspect of our Yizkor service on inner strength and survival. And on 556, I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from the eternal maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The eternal is your guardian. The eternal is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. The eternal will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul. The eternal will guard your going and coming, now and forever. And on page 561, the third aspect of our service on the holiness of memory, we read responsively, when I cry, my voice trembles with fear. When I call out, it cracks with anger.
How can I greet the dawn with song when darkness eclipses the rising sun?
To whom shall I turn when the clouds of the present eclipse the rays of tomorrow?
Turn me around to yesterday, that I may be consoled by its memories.
Were not the sea split asunder? Did we not once walk together through the waters to the dry side?
Did we not bless the bread that came forth from the heavens?
Did your voice not reach my ears and direct my wanderings?
The waters, the lightning, the thunder remind me of yesterday's triumphs.
Let the past offer proof of tomorrow. Let it be my comfort and guarantor.
I have been here before, known the fright, and found your companionship.
I enter the sanctuary again to await the echo of your promise. On page 567, with our fourth aspect, our most precious relationships, Yesh Kochavim.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone.
And so it is with people who we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done.
But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember. We remember. We remember.
These high holy days, Yamim Norim, these days of awe, contemplating the Utanatokaf prayer, contemplating the realities of facing death, the realities of choice between life and death, what is ours to choose and what is out of our control. We have seen way too much death lately. And last night I quoted COVID-19 statistics about the numbers who have died here in our country. But statistics seem to numb us to death. Death is not statistics. It's personal. Each individual story matters. One of my teachers, Rabbi Moshe Berger, talks about the idea that maybe it is because of death that we value life. I'd like to test out the alternative theory if I had the opportunity to do so, which I and we don't. But with that in mind, he also said that when someone dies, the entire community should come out to mourn the loss, that each death, each loss of life is a loss to the community. And so whenever I meet with a family to prepare for a funeral, the stories they tell about their lost loved one always resonate for me. It's as meaningful as anything I do as a rabbi. Invariably, someone who was not really prominent in the community, not known much outside their own family or outside their own circle, but whose impact in life were enormous. Their impact on those around them was enormous, more than you could ever imagine. I recently, in our newsletter, mentioned the loss of two dear friends, one very recently, one a few years ago, both of pancreatic cancer, and my really two closest friends from college. The nature of their deaths, both of them dying of pancreatic cancer, seemed to overtake the story of their lives. But it is their story in their lives that made up their lives. It's what matters most, and it's what I want to hold on to. My friend Steve Levy, who died after 5 years of dealing with pancreatic cancer and fighting. What I know about Steve was he was there for me at a couple of incredibly crucial times in my life, who just seemed to show up at the right time and say the right thing. And my friend David Matzel, whom was diagnosed on a Friday and died the following Wednesday without the opportunity to say goodbye, someone with whom I shared a love of family and a love of Judaism. We connected immediately over that in our college days. And during this time, I also think personally about my parents, who also, not that early, but died too soon. But how they lived their lives is what mattered to me, the examples they set, and I've referred to it often. And what I can say is, without them and without their examples, I'm not a rabbi today. I'm grateful to God for all the people who've passed through my life and whom I've loved and love. And as we continue to hear the onslaught of death statistics, my prayer during this Yizkor service and for the year to come is we never lose sight of the stories of their lives, that we hold on to the stories of those who we love the most, tell their stories all the time, because as we know, every story matters, every story is personal, everyone has an impact on the community they leave. Kain Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. Now read the names of those who are being memorialized this Yizkor service, those names that were provided to us to be read. Emily Ariel Bamberger, Ida Bamberger, Albert Bamberger, Belle Pershesky, Morris Bagan, Sylvia Bagan, Thomas G. Patterson, Sarah Wolf. Betty Brynan, Jerome Brynan, Tommy Compton, Edith Compton, Marvin Hirschman, Sarah Reisig, David H. Epstein. Arthur Hirsch, Flora Hirsch, Richard Eston, Daniel Karp, Joyce Wiseman Karp, Floyd Cohn, Eileen Katz, Fred Katz. Reuben Moskowitz, Ida Mae Moore, Lois Steinell, Conrad Steinell, Max Rockland, Beulah Rockland, John Jeremiah Stein, Ben Katzeff, Sarah Katzeff, Jack Stern, Martha Stern, and from my family and Faye's family, as Eliezer Ben Moshe Vechana, Lazer Balk, Rachel Bat Eli Vibacha, Rosalie Alpert, Daniel David Ben Sarah V'Yaakov, Donald Alpert. May their memories always be for a blessing. I ask you to turn to page 570, and from 570 through 581 are selected readings to be read silently, to be read individually, recalling the memories of those we love. Continue on page 576. You are not beautiful exactly, you are beautiful inexactly. You let a weed grow by the mulberry and a mulberry grow by the house, so close in the personal quiet of a windy night it brushes the wall and sweeps away the day till we sleep. The child said it, and it seemed true. Things that are lost are all equal, but it isn't true if I lost you. The air wouldn't move, nor the tree grow. Someone would pull the weed, my flower. The quiet wouldn't be yours if I lost you. I'd have to ask the grass to let me sleep. On 579, we read of the fifth aspect of our Yizkor service on acceptance. And for that, we read Psalm 90. Adonai, through all generations, we have found our home in you. Before the mountains rose up, before the birth pangs of the earth, you alone have been with us, steadfast and constant for all time. In the end, you return us to dust, saying, come home now. Daughters and sons of Adam and Eve, you are mortal. In your sight 1,000 years pass in an instant, like a fleeting watch in the night, but how brief the span of our lives. Our years flow by in a dream, we sleep away our days. In the morning we blossom in beauty, in the evening we wither away. Burnt like grass in the blasting heat of summer, we perish like chaff in the wind. The human life may be 80 years and 10 or 80 years for those who are blessed with strength. So many days consumed by toil and troubles, then our time is cut short, and too soon we go into the dark. So teach us to number our days, that we may bring home a heart of wisdom. Give us a sense of your presence. Nourish us with your compassion. Knowing your love at the dawn of our life, let us live our days in contentment. May our moments of joy surpass the times of struggle. May we taste the sweetness of each precious day. May the work of our hands bring fulfillment. On page 585, we read of gratitude. If some gratitude for the next generation. It is good to praise, to sing hymns at daybreak, psalms of faith each night. How great is your creation, God Most High. How subtle the beauty of your designs. And on 589, our ability to receive God's blessings with thanksgiving will never exceed God's ability to bless us. For those who have cultivated the habit of gratitude, no matter how large a bowl we set out to receive God's blessings, it will always overflow. On 590, Rabbi Judah taught, there are 10 strong things. Iron is strong, but fire melts it. Fire is strong, but water quenches it. Water is strong, but the clouds evaporate it. Clouds are strong, but the wind drives them away. Wind is strong, but the human body bears it. Human beings are strong, but fear casts them down. Fear is strong, but wine allays it. Wine is strong, but sleep overcomes it. Sleep is strong, but death is stronger, and loving kindness survives death. And on 592, the seventh aspect of our Yizkor service, on finding peace. On page 593, we continue with Psalm 23, Adonai Roi.
Adonai Roi lo echsar binodei sheyar b'tzeni avei menuchot yenaleni.
Shekhinah, a sheltering presence, makes me whole, causing me to rest in green fields, leading me to calming waters, replenishing my soul, and empowering me to make life-affirming choices in celebration of God's name. Even though I have walked in darkness and no loss, I have not despaired, for you are with me. Your guidance and your nurturing spirit have sustained me. You have set a full table for me when I have been hurt and alienated. You have conferred upon me unique potential which I strive to realize. From the deep core of my being, I am overflowing with gratitude. I know that your goodness and loving kindness will continue to abide within me, and I will live out my days in God's house. Continue on page 598, El Malay.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, ומצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה. אם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מסעירים לנשמות יקירינו שכחו לעולמם. יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר
Merciful God, God Most High, let there be perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone into eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May they find a home in you, and may they rest in peace. Together we say, Amen.
Amen.
On the bottom of page 599, I wanted to include this reading as it seems that many seem to use the Holocaust, the Shoah, as an example for some sort of injustice that's narrowly focused on them. And I think we need to reclaim it for ourselves in the time and space of personal loss. For the Jewish people, this is our personal loss. And we read as follows, Avinu Malkeinu, let there be perfect rest for the souls of the 6 million who died as Jews in the flames of the Shoah. Let there be perfect rest for the countless millions who died because of race, religion, or nationality, political affiliation, or sexual orientation. Hold them close to you forever. Seal their souls for everlasting life in the shelter of your presence, for you are their eternal home. And together we say,
Amen.
Amen. We remember them.
in life and in love we remember them, and with them in the rising of the sun and in its going down.
Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, page 606. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute. V'chayachon u'yomechon u'vchaye d'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala v'zman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olomei omaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shemei, Dekudisha, Brichu, Leila, Leila, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tush B'chata, V'nechamata, Damiran, Be'alma, V'imru,
Amen.
Yehe, Shlama, Rabba, Min Shemaya, V'chaim, Alena, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru,
Amen.
Oseh, Shalom, Bimromav, Hu Yaseh, Shalom, Alena, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru,
Amen.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved on this Yom Kippur day. And let us say,
Amen.
this concludes our Yizkor service. If you'll give us a brief moment, we're going to shift logistically and probably shift a little bit in mood to get set up for our Minchah service, our afternoon service. So about a minute. Our Minchah service begins with the Torah service, bottom of page 328. Vayehi bin Saron, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Ve'afutsu Oivecha, Ve'anusu Misanecha, Mipanecha. Page 329.
Amen.
So our Torah reading for Yom Kippur afternoon, it is the traditional Torah reading, the uncomfortable Torah reading that I insist upon doing every year. It is the Torah reading which contains the verse that has been interpreted in a way that is certainly offensive to our community. The verse, there's a number of prohibitions in this Torah reading, sexual prohibitions, and this one has been interpreted to prohibit sex between two men. And rather than avoid it, I always choose to read it just to make sure that we still confront it and still know that on some level we're still dealing with its offensiveness, dealing with the hate and bias and prejudice that goes on in our society, and to remind ourselves that we need to grapple with it in the same way that we need to wrestle with Torah always. In addition to the verse, I kind of always skip over and want to read the beginning of what is known as Parshat Kedoshim, also referred to as the Holiness Code, that we are commanded to be holy because God is holy, to strive and to kind of figure out what holiness looks like and then strive to do it. And as we learn throughout Yom Kippur Day as well as throughout the year, that holiness is embodied very much in our interpersonal relationships and how we treat each other, and that is what is sacred and holy to God. And Torah blessings.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'etzachar lo tishkav mishkavei isha toevahi. V'edaber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'yarta lehem kadoshim to you ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem ish imo v'aviv tiru et shabtotai tishmeru ani Adonai Elohechem el tifnu al ha'elelim Elohei miskavei lo tzasu lachem Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
So, as we wrap the Torah, we will recite, chant Bezot HaTorah, page 340.
Zot HaTorah אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל. אבי אדוני ביד משה. לה לה לה
As is traditional for Yom Kippur afternoon, we read from the book of Jonah, and it is our Kol Ami tradition that Ellen Karp be the one to read the book of Jonah. So we will start with the blessings before the Haftorah before we throw it to her. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher Batara, Moshe Abdo, Yisrael Amo, Uvim V'Ehamet Bat Tzedek. Ellen will now read.
And the word of Adonai came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, and proclaim against it, for their evil deeds have risen up before me. But Jonah got up to flee to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. And he went down to Jaffa and found there a ship heading for Tarshish. And he paid its fare and went down into it to head with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. But Adonai hurled a great wind upon the sea, a storm at sea so great that the ship was in danger of being shattered to pieces. And the sailors were frightened, cried out, each to his own god, and flung the ship's cargo into the sea to lighten their load. But Jonah had gone down into the hold, the lower deck of the vessel, and he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. And the captain approached him and said to him, "What are you doing sound asleep? Get up, call to your God. Perhaps the God will be kind to us and we will not perish." And they said, each man to his companion, "Let us cast lots, that we might know on whose account this evil event has come to us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. And they said to him, "Tell us, you who have brought this evil upon us, what is your trade, and where have you come from? What is your country, and who are your people?" And he said to them, "I am a Hebrew. I revere Adonai, God of heaven, who made sea and dry land." The men felt great fear, and they asked him, "What have you done?" Because the men knew he was fleeing from Adonai, for so he had told them. And they asked him, "What should we do to you to bring calm to the sea around us?" For the sea was growing more and more stormy. So he said to them, "Lift me up and hurl me into the sea, and the sea will calm down for you, for I know that this great storm came upon you because of me." And the crew rowed hard to return to the dry land, but they could not do it, for the sea was raging more and more fiercely around them. And they called out to Adonai, saying, "Please, Adonai, please do not let us perish because of the life of this man, and do not hold us guilty of shedding innocent blood. For you, Adonai, that which you desired, you have brought about." And they lifted Jonah and hurled him into the sea. Then the sea stopped raging. The men revered Adonai, great was their reverence, so they offered to Adonai a sacrifice and made vows. And Adonai provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah prayed to Adonai his God from the belly of the fish, and he said, "I called to Adonai in my distress, and God answered me. I cried out from the belly of the netherworld, and you heard my voice. Into the depths you cast me, into the heart of the sea, and the floods engulfed me. All your billowing, breaking waves swept over me. And I thought to myself, I was banished from before your eyes. Will I ever again gaze upon your holy temple? The waters closed in over me, the deep engulfed me, rushes wrapped around my head. I descended to the low point of the mountains. The gates of the earth closed upon me forever. Yet you, Adonai my God, raised up my life from the pit. When my life fainted away, I called Adonai to mind, and my prayer came to you, to your holy temple. They who cling to empty folly forsake their own welfare. But I, with a shout of thanksgiving, I will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will fulfill. Rescue comes from Adonai. Adonai commanded the fish, and it spewed Jonah out upon dry land. And the word of Adonai came to Jonah a second time. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, and call to it the proclamation that I tell you. So Jonah got up and went to Nineveh, according to the word of Adonai. Now Nineveh was a great city of God, 3 days' journey across. And Jonah started out and made his way into the city, the distance of a one-day walk. And he called out and said, 40 more days and Nineveh shall be overturned. The people of Nineveh trusted God, and they proclaimed a fast, and they put on sackcloth from the richest to the poorest. And the word reached the king of Nineveh. And he got up from his throne, took off his robe, put on sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he cried out and said in Nineveh, by decree of the king and his nobles, no person or beast of flock or herd shall taste anything. They shall not graze, they shall not drink water. They shall be covered with sackcloth, person and beast, and shall call loudly to God. Let all turn back from their evil ways and from the violence which is in their hands. Who knows? God may turn and relent. Turn back from the heat of the anger so that we do not perish. God saw what they did, how they were turning back from their evil ways, and God relented from the evil plan for them and did not carry it out. But to Jonah, this was a great evil, and it made him angry. So he prayed to Adonai, saying, please, Adonai, is this not what I said when I was still in my own country? This is why I fled to Tarshish to begin with, for I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, endlessly patient and abounding in steadfast love, ready to repent of evil. And now, Adonai, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. And Adonai said, is your anger so dear to you? Then Jonah left the city, found a place east of the city, made himself a shelter there, and sat under it in the shade until he might see what would become of the city. And Adonai Elohim provided a gourd and made it rise up over Jonah to give shade for his head and rescue him from his evil situation. And Jonah rejoiced with great joy because of the gourd. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm that attacked the gourd, and it withered. And as the sun rose, God provided an oppressive wind from the east, and the sun beat down on Jonah's head, making him faint. He begged for death, saying, it is better for me to die than to live. Then God said to Jonah, are you good and angry about the gourd? And he said, I am good and angry to the point of death. Then Adonai said, you pitied the gourd, which you neither worked for nor grew, which appeared overnight and perished overnight. Should I then not have compassion for the great city of Nineveh, a place of more than 120,000 human beings, unable to tell their right hand from their left, and many beasts?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zur kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'kol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yaseh, ha'medaber m'kayim, shekol davarav emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu b'ne'emanim devarecha, v'devarecha midvarecha, v'achor le'yeshuv rekam, ki ha'melech ne'eman b'rakaman atah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'kol davarav. Rachem al Tziyahun ki beit chayenu v'lalu b'nefesh toshia b'mhera v'yameinu baruch atah Adonai v'sameach Tziyahun b'vanecha samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'elihu hanavi avdecha v'malchut beit David mishikecha b'mhera yavo v'yagel libeinu al kiso lo yeshiv zar v'lo yinchalu od achirim et kavodo Give Hashem Kodesh Nishbata Lo Shelo Yichbed Nero Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Magen David Al HaTorah V'al Avodah V'al Anbim V'yom HaKippurim Hazeh Shenatata Lahanu Adonai Eloheinu Minchah V'Yisrael L'Chapara L'Kavod L'Tifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu Modim L'Achum Barkim Otach Yitbarach Shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed, bracha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Mokel, V'Salech Lavotenu, Lavot Amo Beit Yisrael, Ma'avir Ashmotenu, V'Kol Shana V'Shana, Melech al Kol Ha'aretz, Mekadesh Yisrael, V'Yom HaKippurim.
Amen.
Our service continues now on page 352. Yehalalu et Shem Adonai, Ki Nizkav Shemo Levado. Ascend the mountain of the eternal, and who may rise up to the place where holiness abides? A person of clean hands and pure heart, who has neither taken a false oath nor sworn deceitfully. Such a person shall receive God's blessing and kindness from the well of salvation. Kila Tov on page 353 leads us into Eitz Chaim. Meditation on page 356 leads into the Amidah, the standing prayer on page 360. The Amidah runs through page 411. We'll pray the Amidah this afternoon for Minchah silently. Either pray the words on the page or the words that are in your heart this Yom Kippur afternoon. Service continues with Krachemav, page 412. Continue on page 414. Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people and you are our God. We are your children and you are our father, our mother. We are the people who serve you and you call us to serve. We are your community and you are our portion. We are your legacy and you are our purpose. We are your flock and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard and you watch over us. We are your work and you are our maker. We are your beloved and you are our lover. We are your treasure and you are the one we cherish. We are your people and you reign over us. We offer you our words and you offer us yours. So forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Continue on page 416 with the Vidui, the confessional Ashamnu. I da 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 die, I da da die, I da da die, die. Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Ibarnu Dofi,
Ibarnu Dofi,
Evinu,
Evinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Kamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tafanu Sheker,
Yatsnu Ra,
Yatsnu Ra,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Pashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Keshinu Oref,
Kishinu Oref,
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shechit Anu,
Shechitanu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tahinu,
Tainu,
Titanu.
Titanu.
Of these wrongs we are guilty, we betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil. We lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt. We commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil. We go astray, we lead others astray. Continue on page 421, Vial Kulam.
Kula
on page 428, reading responsively from the Hebrew to the English. Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata,
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Imanu Laman Shemecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova,
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Zechor Ki Afar Anachnu,
Avinu Malkeinu, remember, we are but dust of the earth.
Avinu Malkeinu Tehei Hasha Hazod, Sheat Rachamim V'et Ratzom Lefanecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, let this hour in your presence be a time of compassion and acceptance.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu V'al Aleinu V'tapenu,
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Lemanu Tuchim Al Yehudecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of those slain for their devotion to you.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Leman Harugim Al Shem Kedoshecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of those killed because they were Jews.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Leman Ba'esh Uvamayim Al Kiddush Shemecha,
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of those who suffered fire and water to sanctify your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Chanenu Vanenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim Aseh Imanu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu,
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chovenu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chovenu Vaneinu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka v'Chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka v'Chesed, V'Hoshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chovenu Vaneinu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim.
Continue with Aleinu, page 432.
Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol, l'atei gedulah liyotzei bereshit, shelo asanu k'gei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam Elokeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol ha'onah. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נותן שמיים וכוסף הארץ ונשק לקברו בשמיים למעלה ושכינת זו
Middle of 433.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד
So this concludes the Minchah service. We're going to take exactly 5 minutes to kind of get set for Neilah, the concluding service, which will culminate with Havdalah. As we always do, it's always a spirited time for us, even virtually. It's still a spirited time, so 5 minutes and we will be back. So with our Neilah service, our concluding service for this Yom Kippur, we always approach it with some sense of urgency, as if we're getting the last bit of prayer in to beseech God to treat us with mercy and compassion in the year to come, which includes, when we get to the Amidah, what we normally do. It's a long bit of stretch of Amidah in which it is traditional to stand for the entire thing, and understanding that it is difficult for some to do that when we're all together. We stand, those of us who can do that. It has become our tradition of Kol Ami, again, when we're together and not virtual, that Rick Bryden is our appointed stander who stands on behalf of the entire community. But clearly, it's not going to happen quite that way this year, but I wanted to mention it anyway, and particularly let Rick know we think about him in this moment as we approach our Neilah service. So with that, we begin the service on page 613. Neilah. Again, the day rolls into darkness, the sky spills its pinks and purples, draining to blackness. Deep inside, there is a closing, a small gate, swinging shut in the mind. Those few last thoughts rush through, and a life is sealed. Outside the temple, a lone bird sounds its call, waits for a response. Chatzi Kaddish, page 620.
Amen.
בחייכון ויומכון ובחייתך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
Amen. יש מרבה תורה לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויברמן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשו בריחו
לילה ולילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
ושבחתה ונחמתה
דמירם בעלמא ואמרו
Amen.
Meditation on page 622 will lead us into the Amidah on page 624.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yahiti tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory.
Baruch
Atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu,
Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Na'orah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Hasei Avot L'imahot, U'me'ila Livnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava. Hoshea u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo.
Magen Avraham ve'Ezra tzara. Amen.
6.
Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayein atah leHoshia, mori atah, mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayein hatim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verafech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha b'gevurot, umido melach, melech lemit umechayem, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nebo atah levayon gotim. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayem hamidin.
Page 628. Open the gates of righteousness for us. Open the gates that we may enter and praise the Eternal. Open the gates for us for all Israel and for people everywhere. The gates of acceptance and atonement, beauty and creativity. The gates of dignity, empathy, and faith. The gates of generosity and hope, insight and joy. The gates of knowledge and love, meaning and nobility. The gates of openness, patience, and the quest for peace. The gates of renewal, song, and tranquility. The gates of understanding and virtue. The gates of wisdom and wonder. Exaltation, youth, and old age. The gates of Zion, reborn and rebuilt in our time. Open the gates, open them wide. Show us the way to enter. Continue responsively on page 633. Alive, I aspire to, an eloquent seeing of all earth's seasons, inspired, touching of flesh, flower, and stone, true hearing of others, journey, self, and terrain, the difficult dignity of individual thought.
An inner burning of commandment, a sometimes certainty of divine presence, weaving of sorrow into becoming, upwelling of seated but surprising joy.
Into this life courageously toward the unknown purpose. 634. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'kol yom chalucha selah. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Baruch atah Adonai hamelech hakadosh. You are the source of blessing, eternal one, sovereign of the sacred. And on 636, you choose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. V'titem lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava et yom ha'kippurim hazeh l'mechila v'lislicha v'chapara v'melchem bo et kol avonotenu mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our peoples going out from Egypt. Page 638. Zachrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, eternal God, remember us.
Amen.
Ufdodenu vo livracha, be mindful of us and redeem us.
Amen.
V'hoshienu vo l'chaim, for a life of goodness and blessing. And let us say,
Amen.
favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. Continue, Petach Lanu, page 640.
Petach lanu shah, be'et
641, when you are asked in the world to come, what kind of work did you do? And your answer is, I fed the hungry. The response will be, this is the gate of the eternal. Enter into it, you who feed the hungry. If your answer is, I gave drink to the thirsty, the response will be, this is the gate of the eternal. Enter into it, you who gave drink to the thirsty. If your answer is, I clothed the naked, the response will be, this is the gate of the eternal. Enter into it, you will be clothed, you who clothed the naked. And the response will be the same if you answer, I was a parent to orphans, I was generous to the poor, I performed deeds of loving kindness. Continue on page 644. Though we wander and stray, your forgiveness grows as you pardon our wrongs one by one, doing what is right for every living being. In your mercy and love, do not treat us harshly. For the harshness of our deeds, you teach us to proclaim your attributes made known to Moses, man of humility, long ago. This day remember for our sake the covenant of your 13 ways, as it is written, the Eternal descended in the clouds, stood with him there, and proclaimed. Adonai, Adonai, 644. Continue on page 650. Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people, you are our God. We are your children, and you are our parent. We are the people who serve you, and you call us to serve. We are your community, and you are our portion. We are your legacy, and you are our purpose. We are your flock, and you are shepherd. We are your vineyard, and you watch over us. We are your work, and you are our maker. We are your beloved, and you are our lover. We are your treasure, and you are the one we cherish. We are your people, and you reign over us. We offer you our words, and you offer us yours. So forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Page 652. We are insolent, but you are compassionate and gracious. We are stubborn and stiff-necked, but you are slow to anger. We persist in doing wrong, but you are the essence of mercy. Our days are a shadow passing by, but you are existence itself, your years never ending. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Ashamnu, page 653. I da da die die, I da da die die, I da da die die die. Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Evinu,
Evinu,
Behirshanu,
Behirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Chamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Yatsnu Ra,
Yatsnu Ra,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Hashanu,
Tashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Kishinu Oref,
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tahinu,
Tainu,
Tihitanu.
Titanu.
Of these wrongs we are guilty, we betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. What can we say to you whose existence is beyond time and space? What words of ours can reach your realm, beyond the clouds, beyond heaven itself? Every hidden mystery, every revelation, surely you know them all. Continue on page 657. My God, mighty one of my existence, have mercy on your lost child who has wandered from the ancestral path. I know that you are far beyond me, elevated above my kin. Are you, my God? Yet this I know too. Somewhere in the hidden places, you sit waiting eternally for the last of your servants who strives to come into your gates in faith. And on page 661, our sages teach, as soon as the fast of Yom Kippur concludes, pound the first nail into the sukkah. To everything there is a season, a time for prayer and looking inward, a time to go outside and build. So it is written, when mitzvah inspires another, may this long day of fasting and self-denial inspire acts of creativity, generosity, and joy. May we go from strength to strength. As this day has been a refuge for the spirit, may we shelter one another in the sukkah. As we have shared worship and teshuvah, may we share hospitality and friendship in the days to come. Mindful that our days are fleeting, we prepare to taste the sweet fruits of the season, to cherish life, to celebrate the light. Continue on page 662 through 664, alternating Hebrew to English, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu kabel barachamim v'ratzon et tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh leman rachamecha harabim.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of your boundless compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu leman shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu chetmenu b'sefer parnasah v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of sustenance and livelihood.
Avinu Malkeinu chetmenu b'sefer zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of worthiness and merit.
Avinu Malkeinu chetmenu b'sefer slicha umchila.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of forgiveness and pardon.
Avinu Malkeinu chetmenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu chetmenu b'sefer geula v'yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu maleh yadenu mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu betach sharei shamayim litefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have no sovereign but you.
Avinu Malkeinu chanenu vanenu ki ein banu maasim aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace when our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, ki ein banu maasim, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Malkeinu, ki ein banu maasim.
We continue with Sa'u Sha'arim, page 666. Full Kaddish, page 668. Yikadal v'yikadah Shemei Rabbah ve'amad divrachirte ve'amlich malchute b'chayekom d'gmalichonu chayeducho be'Yisrael b'galav v'zman kari v'imaru.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam alo me'omaya yitbarach. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yidadar v'yidalev v'yidalal shmei dekudesha
Brichu.
Leila leila mikol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiram be'ama v'imaru.
Amen.
Tikabel tzlohonu v'adchonu kol Yisrael kadam avum tishmaya v'imaru.
Amen.
Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imaru.
Amen.
Page 670. We stand as one before the gates of a new year, renewed by this day of atonement, made stronger by all who are with us, and by those whose presence we feel within. As the long day fades into dusk, we join our voices in the words of hope and dedication. Pitchu lanu sha'arei tzedek, nevovam nodeya. Open for us the gates of righteousness, that we may enter and praise the eternal source of life. Open for us the gates of sacred community, that we may enter and feel its healing power. Open for us the gates of truth and integrity, that we may enter and grow in faithfulness. Open for us the gates of devotion and principle, that we may enter and find enduring values and meaning. Open for us the gates of repentance and return, that we may enter and offer our best. Open for us the gates of forgiveness, that we may enter and offer our humanity. Open for us the gates of kindness and compassion, that we may enter and offer our love. Shema, page 672.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam. Adonai hu Elohim. 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 Adonai Elohim.
And for one last time, with these Yamim Noarim, these days of awe, we hear the sound of the shofar, the call to action. Tekiah, Shavarim, Ruah, Tekiah Gedolah. So if you read on page 673, it says, L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. I say next year, anywhere that we can be in space together will be our Jerusalem. The Shana Ba'ah as community, as one. Give us a second, give me a second to light the Havdalah candle, and we'll do Havdalah. No, not with this match, we won't. this year 5,781 be a year when compassion and kindness and love and justice win out over hate. May this be a year of strengthening for our Kol Ami community as we draw closer and closer. And may this year be a sweet year for you and all who you love and all who love you. Shana Tova Umituka, a good and sweet year. Shana Tova.